This is the Neewer batteries and charger for the DMW-BLK22. So I'm going to unbox it quickly. So there's a bunch of leaflets that comes with it. So this one is product safety warnings and instructions. This one is a disposal end of life leaflet. And this is a disassembly warning leaflet. And this is the user manual and EU declaration of conformity. And here's a USB-A to USB-C cable, a double charger, so you can charge two batteries at the same time, whereas the original Panasonic Lumix charger only allows one battery at a time for charging. And this is one of the batteries, and it comes with a cap. And this is the second battery. Again, the same thing, comes with a cap. And that's all that comes in the box. This is the Neewer rechargeable lithium-ion battery, which replaces the Panasonic Lumix DMW-BLK22 battery. And it provides 7.2 volts, and its capacity is 2,400 milliamps or 17.28 watt hours. So it's actually, I think, 1 watt hour more than the original Panasonic Lumix battery. And as you can see, it has the connections here on top and the connections on this side as well, which means it's compatible with both the GH6, the GH7, the GH5m2, the GH5 and the GH5s, as well as the Panasonic Lumix Full Frame cameras that use the same battery. So I'm going to fully charge both these batteries with this charger and then test them on two cameras that are compatible with these batteries. So one of the cameras I have is the Panasonic Lumix GH6, and the other one is the Panasonic Lumix GH5m2, which also takes these batteries. And just to do a quick comparison of these two batteries, so this is the original Panasonic Lumix battery, and this is the Neewer battery. So the Panasonic Lumix battery provides 16 watt hours, so output 7.2 volts and has a capacity of 2,200 milliamps. Whereas this one has a capacity of 17.28 watt hours and it outputs 7.2 volts and has a capacity of 2,400 milliamps. So the new one has a slightly bigger capacity. And in terms of dimensions and shape, they're identical. There is one difference here, which you can see that thing there, which I suspect is a way of Lumix recognizing its own batteries and being able to interpret their status in terms of how many times they've been used or whether they're an original battery or not, which this one doesn't have. So I'm gonna charge the two Neewer batteries with this charger and see how long they last in the GH5 and GH6. So before I start charging the batteries, I just want to go over a few things for this charger. So it's a USB charger, so you need to have a USB adapter to plug it into, and it takes either a USB-C or a micro USB. So whichever adapter you already have for a phone or any other device, then you can use it with this. And both the USB-C and the micro USB port will only consume 5 volts at 2.1 amps. So even if you have a really old phone charger, it should still work with this, because 5 volts at 2.1 amps, I think, is an old version of USB. And the output that it provides for the batteries are 8.4 volts at 700 milliamps if it's one battery in the charger, and 500 milliamps if there are two batteries in the charger simultaneously. So it does have both the USB-C and micro USB port in terms of flexibility of using it. And it's actually quite tight when you press it in. And I'm gonna connect this to a USB adapter that I already have. So I'm gonna plug it into a USB-C port. And as you can see, the LEDs turn on and both of them are being charged at the same time. So I'm gonna unplug this and connect the micro USB to it. Okay, so I'm gonna connect the micro USB to it to test that it works with micro USB as well. And there you can see that the LEDs came on and both of the batteries are being charged simultaneously. So I'm gonna leave this here, and once the batteries are fully charged, then I will put them in a GH6 and a GH5m2 to test how long they can run for when recording video. As you can see here, both the batteries have fully charged now. So I'm gonna take them out and put them in a camera which supports these type of batteries and see how long they can record for. So this is the Panasonic Lumix GH6. So I'm gonna insert one of the batteries into this one. And I'm going to start video recording at 60 frames per second and 4K. So I'm gonna press record now, and you can see that it started recording. So I'm gonna leave this here and see how long it takes before it actually stops. And I'm only writing to one card at a time, so I'm doing the relay writing. And there's no external devices connected to it, so no microphone, no HDMI. So just take that into consideration when I report on the time which the battery operated. And this is the Panasonic Lumix GH5m2. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm inserting one of the batteries and I'm going to record, and again I will record 4K at 60 frames per second on this one as well. So I'm going to press record and the recording started. So I'm going to let these two cameras run for as long as the battery will allow it to run, and then I will come back to it and see how long the video files actually lasted, which is an indication of how long the battery lasted, because both of them have a large amount of memory in them. So the GH5m2 has 2 terabytes, so 1 terabyte in each SD card slot, and the GH6 has a 2 terabyte CF Express Type B card and a 1 terabyte SD card in it. So the storage shouldn't finish before the battery finishes. So the recording has stopped on both of the cameras. On the Panasonic Lumix GH6, the battery lasted for 1 hour and 27 minutes of recording 4K resolution footage at 60 frames per second using the Neewer battery. And on the Panasonic Lumix GH5m2, it lasted 1 hour 52 minutes. So 1 hour 27 on the GH6 and 1 hour 52 on the GH5m2. Obviously the GH6 has a higher resolution sensor, and I also had dynamic boost enabled on it, and I had also sensor stabilization enabled on the GH6 but not electronic stabilization, whereas on the GH5m2 I had both sensor stabilization and electronic stabilization enabled. So that just gives you an idea of how long the battery lasts. In my experience, the duration of the battery seems to be similar to the original Panasonic Lumix batteries. So I don't think there's a significant difference between Neewer batteries and the Panasonic Lumix ones in terms of performance and how long they last. And I can't really comment yet on the longevity of these batteries, so that's something that I will find out with time. So one thing I wanted to mention about batteries is that they do have a shelf life, and sometimes they get damaged. So for example, with the Panasonic Lumix battery that I have here, even though it's the original battery, it stopped working properly. It can't discharge at a reasonable rate. And when I insert it into my camera, I actually get a message that says this camera cannot be operated with this battery. And I suspect there's 2 reasons for that, because I haven't even used this battery that much, because I have 2 batteries and I'm using the other one. And even with that, I've always got an external power source plugged into my camera. So what I suspect is when you have an external power source plugged into your camera, it's trying to charge the battery at the same time that it's running the camera. And what happens is that the battery overheats and gets damaged quicker than it would otherwise. So if you use up the battery and then charge it, that's fine. But when you're using the battery and charging it at the same time, I think the lifetime of the batteries will be shortened substantially. So from my perspective, batteries get damaged relatively quickly, and because of that I don't think it's necessarily worth buying the most expensive original brand battery. Instead, if you have batteries like the Neewer one that are reasonably priced and they provide the necessary power and last a long time, then I think it's worth buying these ones, because whenever they get damaged then you can just replace them and it's not a big deal in terms of cost. And I always try to use external batteries anyway, so the batteries that I put inside the camera are only there to mitigate any circumstance where the camera gets unplugged from the external source of power, as opposed to me aiming to run the GH6 or the GH7 from a battery. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using batteries. I think it's always better to rely on external source of power, even if that external source of power is a V-mount battery. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions about these batteries or if you want me to do a particular test with them.